Alright.
I might not. Can you hear me okay? Because sometimes out in our garage, my phone doesn't work very well.
I can barely hear you.
Okay, how about now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, stretch this cord. My phone's on the charger. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. So where are you at now? Are you back in Boulder?
No, I had to leave Colorado for my own safety. I have warrants out for my arrest.
What's that?
I have warrants out for my arrest. I can barely hear you.
Oh, shit. Hang on a second. Okay, how about now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Warrants. So, what kind of warrants?
Well, I've got 2 of them for failure to appear. One of them's in Nebraska and one's in Colorado. And then I don't know what warrants there's going to be on top of that. I was prevented from going to court. I was assaulted by the police for trying to make a report. I actually had to threaten the President of the United States of America and light a truck on fire in order to try to force the police to take a look at the evidence that I had, because I couldn't get anybody in the state of Colorado to go in with me. The police kept on blowing me off. They assaulted me 4 times in Boulder County Jail between August 24th and August 29th. They prevented me from being able to go to court for protection orders that they did not properly serve the paperwork to me for, nor did they give me that paperwork. They wouldn't allow me to defend myself. They wouldn't allow me to call witnesses. They literally wouldn't allow me to do anything. Well, let me start with January. In January, everybody assumed that I killed Natalie. The police did a lot of really bad shit because they assumed that I killed Natalie. They lied outright and they assaulted me in the hospital to feign an assault because they didn't want to take my report. Now, they got me to go with them because they promised to take my report. Instead, they put me on a 72-hour hold. I was suicidal because nobody would fucking listen. I decided not to kill myself. I decided to try to talk to the police, and they lied to me that whole night. Well, that kept me so that I couldn't go somewhere safe, and I had to stay in Colorado. My friends and my family were having their lives threatened, and I was sick and tired of it. I needed somebody to help me to make a report, and nobody would. I kept getting pretty words, and everybody wanted to keep their distance because they didn't know if I killed her or not. Obviously, I didn't fucking kill her. But they wanted to argue on Facebook. Well, they all wanted to argue on Facebook instead of going to the police. And afterwards, I really needed people to tell the police who I am, you know? I mean, am I some sort of super psycho serial killer? You know?
Well, I don't think so.
It got to the point where when I went to Candace's, you know, I did everything that I could there. The cops screwed up my back and they screwed up my wrist and I couldn't write. And Laura Nelson came down to help and she made mention of the fact the cops kept driving around the house, and Candace brought her work computer home so I could use it, but it wouldn't work for what I needed it for because you have to have a special code in order to get onto certain parts of it, and it's for a hospital because she works at the Haxton Hospital, so I couldn't get any of that to work. And I couldn't get internet during the day, so none of the calls that I needed to make would work. Literally, all I could do is make videos at night after her family was asleep. And she had to shut down her Facebook because people were sending her pictures of her old living room with the pictures that were on the wall behind me in my videos. You know, I mean, it scared the hell out of her. And then Natalie's ex-stepmom, Shelly, she called me, she pocket dialed me, and it sounded like there was a fight. And so I called 911. Officer Michael Beard showed up, told me he wasn't going to make a report and I should write my local senator, had an ear-to-ear fucking grin on. And that's when the 911 dispatcher came through and let him know. Like, he was already outside of Candace's house. So Candace tells me the next day that the police showed up. First, when Officer Michael Beard showed up when she was taking her kids to school. And then he showed up at her work. and then her landlord threatened to throw her and her daughter out in the cold. So I had to find a place emergency like to go stay. And like that whole time, my phone isn't working, and I don't have a computer that's actually working to do the things that I need to do, and I don't have access to it during hours that I'm able to do it. And that pocket dial, that was right after 3 days at Candace's not being able to do that stuff during the day. I needed somebody to know the truth. So I tried letting Shelly know the truth. I tried sending her my email and stuff so that she could take a look for herself. And then Candace, she let me have her phone that day so that I could use the internet while she was at work. And I'm like, it's not going to do me any good, Candace. I already signed over my stuff so that Natalie's family can look at this stuff and realize that, this shit is seriously fucking going on. But instead, she went off on me because she left her phone all day for me after I'd already turned that over, and she treated me like shit because all I did, according to her, was watch videos, and that's not all I did. I was trying to educate myself on how to do these things, on how to take screenshots and shit like that. So Laura finally showed me how to take screenshots when she drove me from Candace's down to Niwot. And then I needed my friends and family to be safe. I kept on getting these death threats. Most of the people who said they'd help me didn't end up helping me. They didn't show up in person where I needed, and I have nonstop panic attacks over this. Like, they severely fucking traumatized me. And I was thinking about
Yeah,
the threats against all my friends, and I thought, if I'm dead, these people will fucking stop. So I tried to kill myself on pills. And then that didn't work, so I continued trying to make a report. They refused to take my report still. Then they shipped me to a different county where I was assaulted for trying to make a police report. And none of these places have sound. I've been trying to get it so that body cams are required on at all times by officers, so they can't do these things. Well, at the hospital, they put drugs into me, threatened to break the needle off in me. Now, mind you, this is while they still haven't found the guy that killed her. And then they separated me from my money. They wouldn't allow me access to my backpack. They wouldn't allow me access to my phone. If I did, they wouldn't allow me to get on Facebook. When I finally got out, I was on a Facebook ban for trying to kill myself on video. And I had to wait 3 days out in the cold. It cost the American taxpayers $200 to drive me from, uh, the hospital that Alex was in, Clearview.
I don't.
Well, that's the one that they sent me to, is Clearview, because it was out of county. And they didn't tell me it was out of county, and I was trying to ask for an officer to show up, and they wouldn't allow it. So they shot me in the ass with some drugs, and then, everything after that was just hell. They needed to leave me the fuck alone. So, while they were busy assaulting me, they thought they'd get up and laugh at me for trying to make a police report still, so I clobbered one of them son of a bitches. They slammed me down to the ground, and one of them got me in an arm bar and kept on putting me in pain every 10 to 15 seconds. Meanwhile, the people who were on all of my pressure points, they're grinding into my pressure points intentionally. They knew exactly what they were doing. They thought that I had killed Natalie, and they thought that they were doing something good by punishing somebody who is a terrible excuse for a human being. Now, you can see this on all these little Natalie pages, all this stuff that I have to deal with in real life. It's not just stuff people typed on the internet. So after that, I wasn't allowed to leave state, and I had to go to court date after court date, and each court date cost me money to go to. And then I had to go see the public pretenders for each of those two counties, and those public pretenders wouldn't show up, and that cost me money to show up for them not to show up. And then there's their investigators who showed up, and then there's the fact that I needed to press criminal charges against the Boulder Police Department for assaulting me, and they wrote down that I had assaulted them. And even though they later dropped the charges, the fact is that's permanently on my arrest record, so no officer takes me seriously. Meanwhile, I've been painted as schizophrenic, and all of these fucking loonies on the internet are going out of their way to paint me that way. You know, I mean, my life has been hell. I haven't been able to see my older brother or any of my friends or family in Boulder for going on 2 years now. And as far as going back to chapel, I can't go back to chapel because I'm stuck in state because they charged me with felony assault against an officer. So when they finally dropped the charges, all of my money was gone, you know? And then I was still trying to make a report, and everybody kept on blowing me off. Oh, Sean, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you. What do you need? What do you need? Well, I need you to go in with me to force the police to take a report. I get the mentally ill treatment, and because I'm trying to turn in officers, I also get threatened and assaulted. So I needed somebody to actually go in with me, but I kept on getting excuses. Meanwhile, I've got web wingnuts who are putting me on Facebook ban by reporting every goddamn thing that I type. And I'm not doing these things to these people, and they're actually threatening my life. The reason I'm not doing it to them is because I'm trying to screenshot and save the threats that they're making against me, but the cops won't take a look at it. They keep telling me it's out of their jurisdiction. Out of their jurisdiction. No matter what, it's out of their jurisdiction. Like, I needed people to actually come together and coordinate. Like, all the people who hate me because they thought that I killed Natalie, well, after it was found out that I didn't kill Natalie, they still wouldn't let go of the stalking thing. They still wouldn't stop the threats, and I was still getting assaulted in real life. And these people were pretending like they were trying to help me, like both of Natalie's ex-stepmothers, and they didn't. What they were doing is trying to send me into a panic attack so they could take me to court and prevent me from going, and that's exactly what happened. I
So, what was that noise?
My phone is dinging at me. It's letting me know people are sending me notifications.
Oh, um, so where are you now? There.
California.
Oh, for God's sake! What? How the heck did you get out there?
I took a bus. I had to leave the state of Colorado for my own safety. The police wouldn't leave me alone, and they wouldn't take my report, so all of the people who were threatening my life are all getting away with it, and not only that, they're continuing it. Like, I've been through hell. I needed actual help instead of people telling me pretty words. When I plopped down in the middle of the fucking road out there, I needed somebody to help. When I was cruising around in my car like that, it's because I needed somebody to help. That phone that I had so much evidence on it, and I lost that phone. I needed help getting it. I was out in the garage with Jace and all of his friends trying to get help finding it, but they couldn't help me because they had to go to Lodgepole, and like it was late at night, and I needed somebody to go with me so that I could go to all the places where I was and have them call me to see if it lit up. But instead, everybody and their fucking mom wants to call it while I'm there, and I'm like, oh my god, I need help finding my phone. And nobody would help me find it. All they wanted to do is call it while I'm standing right there with them.
Oh, jeez.
When I got back to Colorado, well, I went up to Montana, and you remember Lanny Engeline?
I don't.
Well, she's the one who sold Laura Nelson the RV that Laura's daughter got burned up in. But that's neither here or there. She was my little brother's pot dealer. But she lives in Montana now, so she was going to help me out, and I went up to Montana, but my second day there, I wouldn't have sex with her, and after that, she was just a bitch. And Miss Jerry, she was going to help. What?
Well, that's just funny the way you said it. He was just a
Well, I understand, there's a lot of women who get real angry when they feel rejected. I wasn't trying to reject her. Well, all right, I was rejecting her. I'm not interested in having sex with her. But when I got back from Montana, I had to come back for court because of the assault at Clearview. Now, all of these places, they assaulted me by sending me into a panic attack and refusing to take a look at evidence. I mean, they literally wouldn't leave me alone, but they wouldn't look at the evidence. So it got to the point with all the threats and harassment and intimidation that I had to do something. I couldn't get anyone to go in with me to make a report against these places, and they're not going to take a report from me because they called me mentally ill. So it makes it okay to assault me and threaten me and intimidate me. And they can lie to me and say whatever they want because they don't have to turn on their body cams. And if I don't have a friend there with me, then I don't have a witness to their lies. They can lie and say whatever they want. So it doesn't matter how honest I am because these fuckers have badges and they called me mentally ill. So it eventually got to the point where the people who stole all my money back in December, I was going to where Natalie died. I was gonna put some black powder in my face and blow my head up, and my phone died, so I couldn't find the place. So I ran into Federal, and I was driving down Federal. I realized that Ken and Leah's place was on Federal, so I decided I was gonna force the police to take my report. I got a gas can and I filled it up with gas, and I went over to Ken and Leah's and I poured gas on the side of the road right next to their pickup, and I lit it on fire. And it literally took me 20 minutes to psych myself up enough to light that fire after I poured the gas down, because I didn't want to do that. I wanted somebody to actually go in there with me and help me, but all I was getting is pretty words and typing. So I got on the internet and I let them know that I had threatened the president and that I had lit a fire and where at, and where I was going to be, because I knew that the police weren't going to listen to me no matter what. But if somebody else called it in, they might. Well, they didn't. They took my bag of evidence and refused to take a look at it, and they assaulted me in that hospital, and they pretended to give me a protection order, which they didn't. And after that, I really was trying hard to get somebody for like 2 or 3 days. I needed somebody to come in and help me make a report. I was tired of having my life threatened. I was tired of these people getting away with it. And I'd realized by that point that Natalie's family had just been fucking with my head the whole time. They had a lady named Cara Johnson who pretended to be an autism expert, and she refused to give her credentials. Her and Shelly were fucking with me over a court date that happened, and that court date was with Joseph Lopez. I went in there, and Natalie's dad was there. He's the one who raped her, and he's calling me a child molester in the courtroom, and basically trying to intimidate me while hiding behind his entire family and 6 officers. Those officers took part in preventing me from making a report, and they also intimidated me and threatened me and walked me out of the courthouse to make sure I couldn't make a report. And then that's ultimately what led to me freaking out the way that I did, and you know deciding that I needed to kill myself because people weren't going to leave me alone. I would never get an honest day in court, and I couldn't go back and see my friends and family. And then when the Longmont police pulled their bullshit, they refused to take a report from me again, like always. They assaulted me, not the Longmont police. They took me to jail, and well, I had to sit down with the Secret Service and with Officer Brian Valenzuela from Sheridan, which is where Ken and Leah's house is, and also with Amanda Jonas from Longmont. All these people apparently can jump across jurisdiction to do whatever they want, and all of that across jurisdiction stuff is allowed in court, but nothing that I have to say is allowed in court, and nothing that I have to show from outside of jurisdiction is allowed in court. So the rules aren't the same. Meanwhile, these guys want to pretend like I assaulted them after they assaulted me. Let me explain it like this. Anytime that you see an officer or a nurse who's got finger marks in their hand or their wrist, it's because they were assaulting someone. That is literally how you get those. So they took me to Boulder County Jail, and assaulted me 4 times in the jail, by the way. Prevented me from making a report in there about the assaults against me in the jail. Told me I could do that when I got out. Basically laughed at me and made a bunch of jokes about it. They strapped me down to a chair while I was in there. That was one of the assaults. They assaulted me to put me into the chair, and I wasn't resisting. I'm the only person in Boulder County history to slip out of that chair. Well, I was supposed to have court on the 29th, Well, I didn't get to have my court on the 29th. Instead, I was in transit to Arapahoe County, where they prevented me from having civil court, where they had a protection order served on me, and I needed to get those people in court. It's Alicia Bollinger. It's because she wasn't willing to tell the truth that all of this happened. Her sister is literally dead because she didn't want to be honest. She made both of our lives hell. Well, from there in Arapahoe, I couldn't get anybody to take my report either. It was a whole bunch of officers harassing, hazing, teasing, and ultimately they assaulted me there too. They turned a blind eye to the people who assaulted me in there. I had to draw pictures in order to keep myself fed enough not to lose weight rapidly. Um, and I was able to get a couple of people to write down statements. I have those statements because the police wouldn't take them. They did take another statement, a statement from some people about the officers who assaulted me, and they refused to give that back. They said that my lawyer would have to requisition it, and my lawyer, they're all public pretenders. They won't do anything. I don't have a civil lawyer, and I was prevented from going to court. So, I mean, literally, they prevented me from going to the civil courts where I could have shown what was going on. Instead, I have to deal with people threatening me and bashing my name for the rest of my life. And I can't see my friends because these officers won't leave me alone. I fucking have crippling panic attacks, and I need help making this stop. And my friends are typing pretty fucking words at me like it's going to fix it.
Well, what do you want someone to do, Sean?
Help me get a lawyer and coordinate like all of these fucking psychos are doing for Natalie's family. I need people to coordinate to help me, to get me a safe place, to help me so that I can go see my therapist and so I can go see my friends and so that I can be left alone. I need people to coordinate, people who are there. I need people who are there for all of these instances to write reports. People like Laura Nelson and people like Jace and Jason and your dad and Rory, and there's a lot of other people that, I need folks to coordinate to help to defend me from all of this shit because it's not stopping. They're not stopping it at all. I have no chance of having a decent life. They took away all of my money. They took away my disability because they incarcerated me for so long. And then they prevented me from going to 5 court dates. So 2 of those court dates were civil court for protection orders. They're not going to allow me to redo those. I really needed those in order to get protection orders against those people and also to show her family the hell that they put me through by not coming forward and being honest. The fact that they had all these fucking internet wingnut jobs coming after me and they weren't willing to look themselves, and the fact that they lied to me repeatedly, that's all stuff that I should have been allowed to show in court. And then the other 3 were for criminal court for things that, well, one of them I actually did. The vandalism in Scottsbluff Hospital, I sure as shit broke the fuck out of their computers because they were trying to do the same thing as everybody else. Put drugs in me for trying to make a fucking report. The Chapel Sheriff's Department, while Natalie was still alive, they were the first people that I went to about this. Officer Jordan Anderson, he blew me off and blew me off. And then they took me to the hospital. That was in January of 2017, you know? Like, I was seriously at the end of my fucking rope. I needed a friend in my corner, and I was getting pretty words on Facebook. You just need to let it go. You just need to let it go. No, I can't let it go. They're not letting it go. They're not dropping the charges, and they're not charging the people who actually assaulted me with any crimes. They're not even willing to take my report. So,
Well, I just don't know what a guy can do. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start, I guess.
that's the thing. I don't know where to start either, but I'm trying. I'm at least trying, I'm just sick
Yeah.
and tired of trying. I'm sick of people telling me, well, I don't know what I can do. Think of something and try it. I mean, so many people who know me, who know the person that I choose to be. And you can coordinate with all of those people. And instead of attacking the Bollingers like the Bollingers are doing to me, help me to go after the courts in the state of Colorado and get human rights established. Because what happened to me is nobody should have to go through that, and they're not going to leave me alone. I had to leave this.
I also don't think they'll come hunt you down either.
You what?
I don't think they'll come hunt you down either. I mean, they've got bigger fish to fry than that. I mean, do you really think that they would come look for you?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if they come looking for me or not. I can't see my loved ones because of all this. I have a warrant in Nebraska, and I have at least, because of the protection orders, I'm going to say there's probably 4 or 5 warrants for me in Colorado.
Oh boy.
Yeah. When you try to turn in police officers, the police are not nice. They coordinated with the Bollinger family to prevent me from having a day in court. And they did that across multiple jurisdictions. And if anybody was to take a look at their paperwork, they'd realize any fucking retard could figure that out. But I'm not allowed to show that, and I can't show it on Facebook because all of these internet wingnuts try to destroy it. I literally used my Facebook to say all of the things that I would have said to the police if the police would have actually taken my report. And it wasn't just in this situation. I've been doing that on Facebook since 2012 because they don't listen to homeless people. Homeless people have no rights. And people in houses want to pretend like we have rights. They don't realize what homelessness is really like until they're homeless. Nobody cares about homeless rights until they're homeless, and then, of course, it's too late.
Well, who are you staying with now, Sean? Do you have friends out there that you're staying with?
No. There's a lady who took me in temporarily, long enough for me to get all of the information that I needed put into a story, but I've been having a nonstop panic attack because the guy who was supposed to send that stuff to me was supposed to send it 5 weeks ago, and he still hasn't sent it. I don't have any money. I'm eating their food. I'm staying in their place. I'm having a panic attack that shuts me down, so I'm not doing anything productive except praying for my life to end. And I'm trying to do productive stuff, but I needed help in person. And I needed a safe place where I wouldn't be threatened, harassed, intimidated, or assaulted. And I don't have one of those.
Well, are you wanting to stay in California?
No, no.
Where do you want to be right now? Where do you want to go?
I want to go to the shop and I want to help work on the skid loader.
Well, you know what? You could stay, just keep a low profile. I don't think anybody's gonna mess with you.
The Chapel Sheriff's Department has my number. I was going after one of their officers.
Well, I really don't think they'll harass you. I really don't.
I also don't have any way to get there. If I do try to go there, I have to go through Denver. I don't know if I'll be able to find somebody here who can give me a ride. I don't know how to do any of this. I shut down. I have crippling panic attacks. When I have those, all I can do is talk.
Okay, so this is what you need to do. You go to Facebook right now.
Do what?
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.